First question, is this one of the most underrated openings of all time? Why aren't more of us playing this? Pawn to c5, known as the sniper in some circles, although maybe that's before the knight comes out. Now this is the most principled move, which is what Nils Grandelius plays. He's the Swedish #1, he's taking on the Norwegian #1, and of course the universal #1, Magnus Carlsen. It's a tournament in Malmo, Sweden, the TP something or other, second round, classical chess. Yes, Magnus is back at it. And this is just a masterpiece of a game. I reckon this rating, this opening is so underrated here. Witness a masterpiece. This is known as the Benoni defense. Son of my sorrow, I believe it translates as, because you're in for a sorrowful time at the highest echelons of chess. Is that a word? Did I say it right? White takes all the space, right? Black's kind of cramped, manoeuvring. But in the hands of a master like Magnus, who knows how to build a banana hammock, he'd be great on a desert island. It's a dangerous, dangerous weapon. And of course, he's choosing it because he wants to win. This is a lower rated opponent by 200 points. He wants to kickstart his tournament. Draw yesterday against Arjun. But first, Nils whispers, stack my bishop. Many top players do. Castles is played. And now I was exploring pawn h3 to stop bishop g4, which we now see. But if you'd have done it on the last move, rook e8 was annoying, pressuring the centre. Now if you do it, there's knight d2 covering. You might think queen c2's got it, but no, that's just not as good. Let's not go there. This is the game. Pin and win, baby. Knight d2. Yes, the pin is mightier than the sword sometimes. Queen recaptures. Now we see knight b to d7. Castles. And now what to do with black, right? It's not so easy. Sometimes you push a pawn and sacrifice it to take here, but that's no longer possible since the knight dropped back. You could bring a rook. Maybe you look for a6, b5, but a4. It's not easy to play these positions. White steamrolling soon. So Magnus starts with this move. Highly instructive play. You can play positionally here with this bishop f4 stuff. a4, bring the knight to c4. But Nils roars like a mighty chess lion, and the whole room erupts because Magnus roars right back. It's a cacophony in the Malmo room there. Absolutely incredible scenes. What to play? There's many different ideas. G4 is even a top move. Wild stuff. We do kind of get it though, right? You know, if takes, you're really activating one of these ones. I guess this one. But this was the game. Kind of helped Magnus a teeny bit, you feel. He captures with the pawn. Rook takes possible, but this is superior. Covering this very important e4 square. Bishop f2 is now played. Opens the queen to check. That's kind of annoying. Bishop bouncing round in some lines. Maybe after knight f6. And now Magnus goes knight c7. So he covers the queen's invasion square. And Nils, on move 16, goes wrong. Now what should he do? Well, this knight is poised to jump to the all-powerful c4 square. Then you pressure the backwards pawn. You could do it immediately. You could start with a4 to secure knight c4, but it's the way to go. Occasionally the knight even drops back and pressures this weak pawn. That's the move. Not played. Knight f3, and he's just on the wrong circuit here. Does look natural in some ways, supports a bit of this, maybe a bit of this one day, but Magnus now goes knight f6, undeterred. If you want to go for this bishop pin stuff, fine. I'm going to have a monster, unopposed. Knight's headed for e4 here, and b5 ideas are really in the air now to gain access to this square. We see Nils go queen d3, hitting the f5 pawn. Many grandmasters are playing queen d7 here to simply cover, complete some development, connect those rooks, prepare b5, but not our Magnus. What does he do here? Pawn b5 immediately. Now this is world championship level stuff. What a player, what a guy. If you now take the pawn, this one cracks on and you have to actually drop back. If you step here to e4, then this is the move. Discovery on the queen. Black's doing great. An absolute army of pawns in the centre now. What a monster of a bishop also. And if instead of knight e4, you play the correct move, knight e2, well, the pressure continues by taking on d5 and all the pieces are flowing once more. So, we didn't see queen takes, which was the threat. Instead, we saw knight takes here. Of course, the question we were all asking, Magnus is about to show us the follow-up. Queen recaptures, and now we see rook b8. Hitting the queen, hitting the pawn behind, and if you go queen e2 to cover it, well, then it's not about knight takes on d5. That's a bad move. Then you run into queen e6 check, and you lose a piece. No, that's not the play. The play is knight e4. Open up the double whammy on the pawn. Super active knight. If ever b3, the knight gets the c3 square. Let's pause it there. Huge compensation for the pawn, and you're probably going to win it back anyway. We see something similar in the game. Queen d3 is played, not queen e2. Hits the f5 pawn again. Covers this pawn in some lines. Still pressure here. Still Magnus could take, but he doesn't do so. He doesn't want to give f5, so this is the move he selects. Stops the queen's attack now. Opens the bishop, pressures the pawn. And if you try this kind of bishop nonsense, well, you just actually help the queen activate. So in the game, we saw rook a b1. Yes, you could take the pawn now with the black bishop and be better, but even stronger is Magnus's second move to keep a significant advantage. Queen a5. All of the pieces now activated beautifully. Such a great dark squared grip. You know, no coincidence that all the pieces are playing on the dark squares with this pawn structure and this open bishop. This one's attacked. If you play the obvious, well, now when the b2 pawn drops, this one's also weakened, so you haven't really done much to help your position. White has to go for counterplay. You know, the queen side's collapsing, and that's why we see knight g5. g4 was also an option there. Probably better, more dynamic. But this one goes for the exchange of the knight. If you capture here, not the best move. Magnus instead finds the best. Queen d2. Excellent chess here. Not the immediate knight d2, by the way, or there was bishop e1 and the knight's pinned to the queen and you lose a knight. You don't win an exchange. So this is much stronger. No time to take the knight, or you take a loose queen. And if queen takes queen, knight takes queen, and you do go to Forktown, population nils. So that's why the queen slides out of the way. Threatens to crash through here with a deadly checkmate on the king. h6 isn't actually the best in this position. Takes here, I believe. And then you open up the e6 square after pawn captures. So we see knight takes from Magnus. Pawn takes back. What a delicious choice he's got. 3 pawns on prees. It's like Christmas come early. A banquet. A feast of prawns for Magnus Carlsen.
Mushrooms.
He plays the best move. Rook takes. Bishop takes. Not bishop takes. Queen takes. As you can see, I'm far from a professional. The pawn is now running. Red carpet rolled out. And this one's on its bike soon. You know, how would you defend this? Didn't really explore a4. But presumably, the pawn's not long for this world anyway. Very understandable that Nils instead goes queen h5. It's not the best move. Queen g3 was stronger, looking at the backwards pawn. But basically, he has to try and drum up counterplay here or here. So this is what he goes for. Magnus gobbles another. He's 2 pawns up, is he? Maybe only 1 pawn, but it feels like 2, right? With these being passers. That one's now under fire. g6 is thrown in. Again, threatening a mate. So Magnus pushes. Very natural. The queen now backs up to cover the centre. From this, and a5. That one has its running shoes on. Prime Yasser Serwan would be proud. The red carpet is rolled out. h4 gives some luft. prepares to cemento this one as well. We see a4 though, queen f4, a3. Magnus is completely undeterred. No problem. Chow down on my backwards pawn. That would have been a huge issue earlier, but now the a pawn's just too advanced, and look at the sniper. Queen b2's on the board here. Let me put another red dot there so we can see that red carpet. Baby girl in the delivery suite. It's about to drop, so pushed, check, king h8. Magnus has of course calculated all of this, and although it looks like white's getting somewhere, you can't eat that rook. The white king gets killed, not black, and it starts with the move queen d4 check, not bishop d4, for the key reason that if the king steps this way anywhere, well, you've got the lateral check now here. This is how the line goes. Then the bishop joins the party, and after the rook drops, well, obviously this is great and leads to a mate very quickly, but so does this, and this would be a checkmate. If we run it right back, if after the initial check you block with the rook, same problems, same kind of checkmating patterns. So you cannot touch this rook. You have to stay on this diagonal with your own king. So that's why king h2 preempts the attack. Queen e5 check though. Magnus loves himself an endgame, of course. Yes, you could step, but still you run into problems. Queen c3 check, and you hit a loose bishop. And if the queen blocks, you chop the queens, make the pawn soon, make the queen soon. So this was played. Bishop takes check, king h3, rook d8, and that ended the game on the spot. The rook was still attacked, which is why Magnus didn't immediately queen. That would have been losing, but now it's winning. It's a piece of cake. What to do? Your pawn's under fire. Let's say you push it. Well, now you could make the queen. Even stronger is just flicking in this one to stop h5, and then something like this, let's say, make a queen, win the rook, black's an entire rook up. There's not too much to really be said, right? The game is over, a rook ahead. Magnus Carlsen, 36 moves of absolute delight. Really enjoyed that game. True masterpiece, sheer genius. Have a look at the video on screen if you want to see more epic Magnus magic, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.